What's social boy for another reaction? In today's video, we have Did Triple H bury Booker T at WrestleMania 19 by wrestling historian. In 2004, Booker T should have won that belt. I'm not gonna lie. It, Booker T should win. Booker T was way more entertaining than Triple H.
In early 2003, the WWE had a massive problem on Raw. They had no big names other than Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and anyone with any
That nigga Vincent want no blacks winning the title.
potential to actually reach the next level was just fed to Triple H by WrestleMania 19. For example, throughout 2002, RVD and Kane showed a ton of potential, but Raw was in a major ratings decline, and the WWE opted to play it safe. So both RVD and Kane were ultimately fed to Triple H. Triple H's next victim would be Scott Steiner, but this quickly fizzled out, and Scott was also booked to lay down.
That nigga Scott Steiner was awfully on steroids. That nigga was juicing bad
For Triple H by No Way Out 2003. At this point, Raw had booked itself into a corner by burying a majority of the roster, but there was still one Raw talent left who had the credibility to sell a pay-per-view, and that was Booker T. This feud went on to become a highly controversial and offensive storyline, and it featured some
like, hey, nigga just got racist on me.
infamous
Your
segments
nappy hair, you don't deserve this belt.
that have led many to criticize Triple H to this very day.
Somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. I
Yeah,
laughed
that promo was crazy as fuck.
my ass off thinking about you challenging me for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Let's rewind for a moment, though, and talk about how Booker T versus Triple H ever even started. And just saying, if you want to get right to the feud, there's timestamps on this video, but all of this information is just going to make everything make more sense. At a time when Raw was losing major stars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Booker T was one of the few guys who actually felt like he was rising to the occasion. Not only was Booker constantly delivering in the ring, but he was also helping carry the weekly television product in a completely different way. Raw felt very forced during this era, but Booker T's segments were naturally funny, especially once he was paired with Goldust.
Yo, you in line, dog? Oh, no, man, I'm calling the police.
Now, it's important to highlight that Booker T was already over even before the Goldust pairing. He was a massive name
This big ass nigga in the ring doing spins on the mat.
in WCW, where he won the WCW Championship 5 times. And by the summer of 2002, he was one of Raw's top baby faces. But once Booker was paired with Goldust, it took his momentum to like a whole other level. Looking back on this era, they were arguably one of the more entertaining things on Raw, even overshadowing the world title picture at times. At first, they'd wrestle separately, but once they made it official and started tagging together in matches, they'd eventually win the tag titles at Armageddon in December 2002. So heading into 2003, things were going great for Booker. However, unforeseen circumstances would drastically change his booking for the next pay-per-view. As I mentioned earlier, Triple H's feud with Scott Steiner did not work out. It was reportedly supposed to run up until
Man, nigga Triple H was just boring in the bitch. I ain't gonna lie. I only liked the Triple H when he was with DX with Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels carried.
WrestleMania 19. But after another really bad match at No Way Out 2003, WWE needed to change things and fast. So some seeds were planted to shift Booker T from his highly successful tag team run into a singles feud with Triple H. This was done on the February 3rd, 2003 edition of Raw, where Randy Orton and Batista brutally attacked Goldust and pretty much fried his brains by doing this. This set up for Booker T to confront Evolution in the following weeks and defend his friend. But also, Booker T would win a 20-man battle royal to become the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. And from here, it was go time. Looking back though, it kind of ruined Goldust and Booker T's tag team run.
And why didn't put that nigga Booker T in like some gold trunks or something? This nigga in this all gold and black, and this nigga Booker T just in white trunks. They both got the gloves on though.
This is why I just rambled on about the whole Goldust and Booker T tag team, as it's important to understand that Booker T was kind of ripped out of that storyline just to be fed to Triple H. To be fair, Goldie and Booker were still kept together, with Goldust almost acting as Booker T's manager leading into WrestleMania. But I honestly think we could have gotten another big tag team title run out of them. Surely enough, though, this will pay off, right? I mean, with the right booking, Booker T could be a massive main eventer in the WWE, especially with a win over Triple H at WrestleMania. Well, sadly, this is far from what happened. The week after becoming the #1 contender, Triple H and Booker T had their first face-to-face confrontation in a highly controversial segment that is pretty infamous.
Somebody like you doesn't get to be a
Dang, it's only infamous because it's racist. Like, you hear what he's saying?
world champion. That's reserved for people like me. Your job is to make people like me laugh, and you're very good at it.
Dang, he just called him a jester and said, you only meant to make me laugh. Like, what the
With your nappy hair and your suckers.
Now, many former WWE staff members, for example Bruce Pritchard, have tried to defend this segment, trying to claim that it wasn't about race and was more about Booker T's past as a former convicted felon. Supposedly, that's what Triple H was trying to imply in
What the fuck Booker do? What the fuck?
this promo. But if you've really watched Raw week to week during this era, then you know that this probably isn't true. This was at a time when Raw would constantly push it and do the most controversial shit possible. But also, Triple H literally brings up Booker T's nappy hair. So I personally believe that there were some offensive undertones throughout the segment, intended to make the storyline more edgy. And for the record, I'm not saying that Triple H is like actually a racist, but more that he and the WWE used low-hanging fruit in controversy to get even more heat. We have to remember that this is a kayfabe story, and Booker T has since confirmed that he actually approved of what Triple H said.
When Triple H said, people like you don't.
You know, a lot of niggas call Booker T now like the C word. I could say that a coon. Cause what is his beef with Swerve Strickland? Like, why do that nigga be going after Swerve Strickland and saying shit about Swerve Strickland? What the fuck he do? Like, what did Swerve do, gang?
Deserve to be here.
Nigga talking about some Swerve passing on bad habits to Javon Evans. Like, what is he talking about?
That's motivation.
Man, I fuck with Booker, but Booker be losing me sometimes. What you talking about, gang? You just hating on the nigga because he had another company? You just at AEW?
For all of us to get up off our asses, I approved all of it.
I personally do not agree with it, and I do think it was a very lazy approach, but it did set up for a payoff in which the underdog Booker T could beat the disrespectful, egotistical champion who thinks he's better than him. But as you'll see, that is not what happened at all, and that's the actual problem here. Also though, in that same segment, Triple H made some seriously damaging comments about Booker's credibility, and in my opinion, this is actually where Booker T got done dirty throughout this feud.
You've been the 5-time WCW champion. But let's face it, that place was a joke, Book. You championship that place right into the ground. Rick, correct me if I'm wrong here, Nate.
This is not how you build up a star. Booker T's WCW career should be used to build him up as a strong opponent for Triple H, and not as a reason to tear him down. But also,
Yeah, Booker T would have did a way better job than Triple H. He would have carried the company 2003, 2004 while I was in the drought. The stats is obviously showing y'all that Triple H was not like the ratings was down, bro. Triple H had the fucking ratings down. You see niggas like Booker T and Goldust. Why you don't give this heavyweight belt to Booker T? But there's Vince. Nigga Vince. I think Vince racist. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, nigga Triple H be buddy with Trump. Like, come on.
what a bullshit thing to say from Triple H of all people. This is the same dude who's about to hot potato the World Heavyweight Championship for the next 3 years. So he is the last one to be discrediting anyone's title history. Moving on though, Booker T has talked about this segment in tons of interviews, and we'll cover all of that in a moment, but for now, let's jump into the next episode of Raw. Booker comes out the following Monday and opens up about his past, going into detail about his time in jail. That is, until Ric Flair interrupts just to continue shit-talking Booker.
You can pick up our bag. You can put that chauffeur's cap on. Oh, you can drive us downtown. Then you can take our bag in the building. You will have done something on that day that you'll qualify.
This is another moment where we could focus on the implications of what Flair was saying, but really from a wrestling standpoint, Ric Flair telling Booker T to carry his bags, or Triple H demanding Booker T to dance for him, only makes the payoff of Booker T winning even better. For example, JBL and Eddie Guerrero had similarly controversial segments in their 2004 feud. Same with Rey Mysterio and JBL, and it only made the babyfaces winning even more satisfying. So the storyline could work if Booker T were to win. I mean, if you're gonna bring bring up his nappy hair one week and then belittle Booker T the next week, the only
Again, y'all calling the nigga a jester, belittling him. Like, dang, he should have won. Booker T, I don't know. You should have been in a backstage fuming. Like, you should have won at Vince McMahon for having you fucking lose. Like, you should have won that Vince, my nigga. You should have went after the creative.
story that can really come from it is Booker T eventually winning. But let's keep it going and see how it all plays out. That segment with Flair ended with Booker T knocking him out, finding Triple H backstage and getting
And
into
niggas in the crowd clapping and shit. They won't see this game.
a brawl.
Give me a towel.
Booker T throws some punches, and I will give credit where credit is due. Booker T does come out on top of the scrap. After this, the game goes on the hunt for Booker, looking for him all around the arena, but settles for a match with Maven instead to let out his frustrations. Triple H wins, of course, and continues to beat on Maven and eventually Al Snow, even wrapping Maven's neck into the ring rope.
Maven like Foozy too.
Now, in my opinion, if Triple H is supposed to be the cowardly heel, Booker T should have run out to save Maven and Al Snow, while Triple H ran away, scared. But I guess Booker is just too scared to come out and make the save. So talk about some weird booking, but nonetheless, the next week on Raw, Triple H comes out and continues to trash Booker T.
I told the world that Booker T had no right to be facing me for the world title at WrestleMania, and he doesn't deserve to even have a shot at the championship.
Triple H proceeds to call Booker T a coward for attacking him from behind the last week, before Goldust comes out and interrupts. Goldie gets jumped by Flair and Triple H, which of course leads to Booker T coming out and making the save. Moments later, we get a backstage segment where an extremely pissed off Triple H demands a match with Goldust, which takes place as the main event. The match ends with Booker T getting hit by Randy Orton's crutches, and Goldust taking the pinfall on the final Raw leading into Mania. Goldust and Booker have a backstage segment before the two face off in a tag team match against Flair and Triple H. The match itself was pretty meh, but I'll once again give credit where credit is due, as Booker T got a clean pin over Triple H in this match. This would not last long though, as later that week at WrestleMania, Booker would meet the same fate as the rest of the Raw roster. So let's dive into that match, and then afterward we'll talk about what Booker T has said about the feud since. Now you'd think that the ending to this story would be really simple. Triple H is an arrogant heel who looks down on Booker and thinks that he's better than him, but Booker T, the underdog, rises to the occasion and comes out on top. It's interesting, as before WrestleMania 19, Raw was seriously struggling with ratings, so I could understand why WWE kept Triple H as the champion for so long. I didn't agree with it, but I could understand. But this feud with Booker T was after both The Rock and Steve Austin had returned to Raw, plus Goldberg and Kevin Nash were on the way as well, so ratings were picking up a little, and they potentially could have taken the risk with Booker, thus creating a new main eventer. In the end though, Booker T lost that night, and it was done in a very controversial way where Triple H...
You know Vince wasn't about to get no nigga no title back then. Like, especially back then, like, nigga, you was getting no nigga no title game.
H hits his finisher, but instead of pinning Booker right away, he waited like 30 seconds, thus making Booker look really weak. I'm gonna speculate again, but I personally don't think that there were any intentions to make Booker T the World Heavyweight Champion in 2003. He was put into this feud to simply lose and make Triple H look good. And Triple H really did some damage here by waiting so long for the pin, and especially with all of those comments from their initial face-off shitting on Booker T's career. If you ask me, there were so many elements of this feud where both Triple H and the Raw creative team made bad business moves, but Booker T himself doesn't entirely agree. In recent years, Booker has been asked about this situation many times in interviews, and you can tell that it kind of bothers him, not in the sense that he lost, but he doesn't like how much this one match has dominated his career story, which I do understand.
I really didn't lose any sleep over that angle at all. I know a lot of my fans did. I thought it was a huge win for myself as well as African Americans for me to make it to the main event of WrestleMania. But it would have been a...
Dang, you should have got pissed off backstage. You should have started going off on niggas, like calling out the creative shit. You should have started politicking backstage. Like, let me win this match. That's what niggas do now. Ain't they said Cody Rhodes was politicking to get the belt back from what his name, Drew McIntyre? Shit, you gotta start talking like.
Great moment, but it's just not something that I've really ever lost any sleep about.
To him, it was just one random WrestleMania match. Eddie made a shit ton of money, so I can see where he's coming from with that.
The check was too big. No, I'm serious. The check was way too big for me to complain for that night. It was the biggest check I ever seen. A check that big where you could pay, my house with.
Booker has also explained in other interviews that he wasn't as bothered by it due to him believing that it's not always going to be your moment in this business.
No, this business works in circles. It's not always going to be your time.
Booker clearly has a very positive outlook on the situation. But at the end of the day,
Gang, it ain't gonna always be your time. Gang, this scripted. What was we talking about? They just scripted you to lose. This shit is scripted. I mean, it ain't gonna always be your time. You talking like this shit was like, like you genuinely lost. Like this shit real. Gang, it's scripted. They scripted Triple H into beating you. What do you mean it ain't gonna always be your time?
Booker T was not treated fairly by Triple H or the WWE during this feud. And honestly, it would have made good business sense to take the risk and try and build a new star. But fortunately, years later, Booker did get his shot at gold, winning the World Heavyweight Championship during his King Booker era. It took a couple of more years, but in the end, he got his run. And it was honestly, really good. So I can understand why Booker just wants to move past it all. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, I use no AI in my content. So if you want to support,
I love how that nigga put that shit at the end. I use no AI. Yeah, this is a good channel. I'm subscribed. Make sure like, comment, subscribe. Juices. Yeah, I'm subscribed. I'm gonna eat some videos. I'm gonna like.